Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Councilmember Larry Agran. My name is Brandon, and I am very happy to introduce Councilmember Larry Agran and Tony Pointer. This week, we celebrate California's Wildfire Preparedness Week from May 1st to May 7th, 2022. Being proactive and prepared for wildfire season is crucial for Irvine residents to help make our neighborhoods more resilient to the impacts of wildfires and to climate change. Thanks, Tony, and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Brandon, for introducing Tony, and I'm Councilmember Larry Agran. Happy to have you on board here, Tony, for what I think is going to be a very informative few minutes here that we talk about wildfires and wildfire preparedness. Now, I'd like you to just take a couple of minutes to tell us about the voluntary fire watch program and how people can participate in this should they be interested in volunteering some time to help our community.
Great, thank you. Our volunteers with Orange County Fire Watch are comprised of two different organizations volunteers. They're with the Irvine Ranch Conservancy and OC Parks. We span 36 locations, the open space and our wilderness parks within OC Parks. To join Orange County Fire Watch, we first recommend that you become a volunteer for one of those organizations, and we hold orientations throughout the year. To be an Orange County Fire Watch volunteer, it's an additional 4 hours of training. We teach you size up technique. We point out things that you should be watching out for. And then when we train volunteers to report fires, some of it is as simple as I am at this location and I see smoke at this location. And that allows the fire agencies to keep fires small by getting a jump and getting the resources that they need out to those locations. There's a very low threshold for volunteerism of just a few hours a year. We only deploy typically on red flag warning days, which are only between about 16 and 26 different days. Volunteers choose their own shifts on which day, and typically a deployment is between 2 or 4 hours, depending upon the role that they are selecting for the deployment. And if it weren't for the 325 volunteers that we have to support the Fire Watch program, there's no way that I would or our staff be able to perform the same tasks. The volunteers are definitely the backbone of our Fire Watch program activities. And we are out there with 13 other volunteer organizations in Orange County on those red flag warning days and on the special deployment days to try to be the early reporters and the visual deterrent when there might be extreme fire conditions. So you can go to orangecountyfirewatch.org to see what the Fire Watch program is all about and see how to join us.
I've noticed myself that basically we're pretty dry year round. Rainfall is so infrequent and inadequate that apparently we just need to be ready year round. Now, of course, we're getting into the summer and fall when the danger is greatest. And tell us a little bit about what we can do to prepare our homes and our neighborhoods to deal with wildfires.
Thanks. That's a great question. Because we typically have fires all year round, and we have small fires that pop up frequently, it's not uncommon for our fire agencies to respond to fires on a continuous basis all throughout the year, to be ready when an evacuation warning is given and be vigilant in keeping up to date on what's happening with the weather conditions. When we've just had a cool, ocean wind blowing on an onshore wind, We can have fires, but they don't tend to have a large rate of spread, where typically the city of Irvine and Orange County see our greatest rate of spread are on those Santa Ana wind days, where we have higher than normal temperatures, wind gusts and sustained wind above 25 miles an hour. And we start to see that relative humidity drop and the air gets very, very dry. And when that offshore wind typically occurs, that's our most extreme fire behavior days. And so if you get messaging from the National Weather Service, or you see on the news that we're going to have those conditions, those are the days that you should really stay vigilant and pay very close attention to what's happening in your neighborhood and your area, in order to be able to alert authorities if something is not as it normally seems. And so in partnering with the fire agencies around Orange County and throughout the state, we are big proponents with the campaign Ready, Set, Go, in order to get your homes ready with home hardening and making sure that you have defensible space for the fire agencies. Time and time again, it has proven that homeowners that prepare their homes and their businesses with these techniques that you can find on our fire agency's website, like Orange County Fire Authority, the homes have a better chance of survivability by prepping your home and getting it ready to go, to where even the smallest ember that floats in has a less likely chance of igniting your home on fire.
So Tony, if you could just take a moment. We hear from time to time about red flag warnings. Can you describe what precisely that is, what it means, and how we should be reacting?
Great question. Red flag warnings are issued by the National Weather Service. That's our local forecasting office. And it's typically a staged event. And it's actually the first stage of that series of events is a fire weather watch. And that means that conditions are primed to lead us to a red flag warning. So that's the time frame that we would actually take a serious consideration as to the conditions being met for red flag warning, and be vigilant at that point and alert for those conditions. When the National Weather Service issues the red flag warning, it means that the conditions for the Santa Ana wind effect are typically that our vegetation is primed for ignition, that it's dried out to a point that if a fire starts, it would spread rapidly. And the temperature is typically over 75 degrees. The wind speed and wind gusts are over 25 miles an hour, and our relative humidity has dropped below 10%. So putting those combinations together for a multi-hour period is what the criteria the National Weather Service uses. And as it escalates to that red flag warning, that's when we recommend residents to keep a closer eye on the weather conditions and any situations that if a spark does occur that could ignite a fire, to be ready to call 911 and the fire agencies in order to respond quickly.
So we actually had the experience here in Irvine, of course, of the Silverado fire a couple of years ago, and managed to evacuate about almost 100,000 people from the northern part of our city in a period of about 3 hours. It was a successful evacuation, but how can we do a better job even in the event that we have to evacuate next time around? For example, we as individuals, what should we be doing to prepare to evacuate?
Right, that's a great question. Realize when the City of Irvine Emergency Management makes the call in an evacuation order, having a clearly defined plan really makes the difference between maybe putting putting items that aren't necessarily important into your go bags or into your vehicles. So we really recommend that you have a pre-written list of the important documents, photos, different artifacts in your homes that you believe are important to you, that you would load up in your vehicle. You know the size of your own vehicle, so that you have all the things ready to go that are important. Those would include any prescriptions you might need, your eyeglasses, your backup contacts, your important documents that would be difficult for you to replace very quickly. And then we also recommend that you have a copy of those documents secured in the cloud somewhere, so that if you were at a remote location and you were separated from those documents, you'd be able to get them down to be able to replace them if something happened to them. And so make sure that when you hear the order for a voluntary evacuation, that really is your chance to make sure that you have your vehicle squared away, it's backed into your driveway, or it's in close proximity where you can put your other family members, your children, your four-legged family members that are already crated up, potentially, keeping in mind the heat of the day, that you can safely get everyone out to the vehicle, and all together you can leave in your vehicle to evacuate. We don't actually recommend that you wait to the very last moment in a mandatory evacuation, because now you're typically stuck in traffic with 100,000 other individuals that are evacuating. If you have the ability and you're pre-organized to get into your vehicle and exit the area during the voluntary evacuation to the identified shelter locations through the City of Irvine Emergency Management, that's the time to go. Get out before the mass exodus and you get stuck in traffic and you have fire engines coming in on the opposite direction. It helps with the stress level for you to be able to get out of the area earlier. And if you've done all those things to make sure that your home is prepared ahead of time, you have a little bit more confidence that the fire department will be able to do their job when they get on scene, and you'll be in a safe area in case the fire front comes towards you.
Thanks, Larry, and thanks, Tony. And thanks to everyone who listens to Conversations with Councilmember Larry Agran. Please check out councilmemberlarryagran.org.